Hello, everybody, and welcome to the best 30 minutes that you can spend on the internet and specifically LinkedIn today between 2 and 3 o'clock Eastern. I'm Chad Eves, and I'm here with my co host, Michael Gansel. This is the Talking Business with Chad and Mike show. Mike, greetings from a hot Chicagoland, and I'm sure it's probably similar there in New York.
Well, hi, Chad. It's 89 degrees on my watch, and but I think that's going to be the high for today. But I think you're sitting there, uh, looking very comfortable in an air-conditioned space. I've got a little fan going, got the window open, and it feels pretty cool. I'm not feels feels good. So here we
Awesome.
are. It's
Yeah,
it's not
that's actually the perfect temperature. Go ahead.
it's not quite summer yet. Got it's actually Friday the 21st, which
Uh,
happens to be my anniversary, my wedding anniversary. I won't say how long, but got married on in the evening of the summer solstice, and
okay.
lucky ever.
So did you guys do that intentionally on the summer solstice?
Yes, not
Oh,
only not only that, but that year happened to be the centennial celebration of the Brooklyn Bridge, and so the night that we were married, June 21st, we had fireworks right under the Brooklyn Bridge. That's where we had it on a barge on the East River, and that night when it got dark, the fireworks happened, and that was the day we got married.
you
Actually,
know,
I'm actually wrong. I'm going to correct myself. We got married on the 21st, but our party was on Sunday the 25th, and the party was on a barge in the East River under the Brooklyn Bridge. That was the 100th centennial of the bridge, and that we had fireworks. Not that this matters to anybody, but I guess you said that this was going to be the conversation that was worth people spending time between 2 and 3 Eastern Standard Time. So who knows?
I think the real thing, I think this could be a rom com, and you and your bride need to think about who you'd want to have play you in a movie.
Yes.
So
Well,
food for thought.
Gladys has always said I remind her of Michael Douglas, and who knows? Maybe we'll
Oh,
a little old right now. We want him to play to have the younger Michael Douglas. He's a
yeah.
little old. He's
Uh,
like me.
Maybe he plays the older you, and then someone else plays the younger him.
There you
But
go.
it's good that it's nice, warm outside. We're going to sizzle here on our show. Here we're going to go through a trend list that Michael and I found on HBR. It goes over 9, trends or forecasts for work this year. And so we're going to run through at least 2 or 3 of these here today and just kind of see what we think about them. And accurate, we think they're full of it. And what we think of it. So we'll go through the first one here. And this is organizations will offer creative benefits to address the cost of work. Um, this the kind of the gist of this here is how are companies going to attract and retain people in differing work situations, whether it's in an office or in a hybrid situation. Um, and some of the ideas that they outlined here was a housing subsidy, caregiver benefits, financial well-being program, and student loan repayments. We'll say those are the 4 that they're suggesting. Um, I got a couple of thoughts on those, but Michael, anything leap out to you on this topic?
It was interesting. If you roll back for a moment, um, both you and I work in big cities. You're in Chicago. I'm in New York, and and I'm sure that so many people who commute to work from the suburbs, certainly from Long Island or Westchester, New York, and certainly from the suburbs into Chicago, have gotten so used to working at home since 2020, and you know, and if you have to commute, it's a time suck. I
Mm,
mean, it's an hour each way. That's 2 hours. You've got 7 to 8 hours at work. That's a 10-hour day,
yeah.
5 days a week. So I understand fully the reluctance of people to go back to the office when they don't need when that environment that they work in doesn't necessarily need everybody to be together. So I think companies of various sizes are having a variety of different issues getting people back. So bigger companies versus smaller companies. Bigger companies have more benefits to offer, typically. Small
Right.
companies are at a disadvantage. They're really struggling with the bottom line and may not be able to give the benefits that larger companies give. So it's really an interesting challenge, and particularly looking at some of the benefits that are being offered to entice people to come back. Caregiver benefits. That's huge. I
Hmm.
mean, that's absolutely huge. I haven't heard of anybody doing that, but I not personally, but I do know that that's huge. Um, and housing subsidies, I haven't heard anything about that. I think, I wonder if this is just, the Harvard Business Review from a 30,000 foot, you know,
Yeah.
altitude, pontificating a little bit. Um,
I think you're right on some of that because, I think some of this to a certain degree is fishing, with the ideas. The housing subsidies, I guess, if you're looking at markets that are super expensive to be in, and I don't know, either they want you to come back in closer to those metro areas or to offset the cost of your remote office, which in some ways I think is something that's kind of catching up from the pandemic because whenever I went to working from home, you're using your own electricity, you're using your internet, and very rarely did I hear of any of that being comped as far as a business expense. So I don't know if it's a certain aspect of that of people finally going like, well, I mean, I should get comped for that, and then whatever the different tax rules are when you're an employee working for someone remotely. I have no idea. Talk to an accountant about that. But the one thing I have heard becoming more popular, though, and it's specifically in athletics and in the professional sports industries, is the financial well-being programs. I've seen where there have been a number of teams are starting that as a part of their player programs, so that they have better financial awareness. So when their playing days are over, they're not broke or something. There's a show on right now, Welcome to Wrexham, about a soccer team in Wales, and that's one of the things that they're doing for that team is helping them understand, what's life after, the players are done, on the field. And, unfortunately, as a country, we don't have the best financial literacy in general. So that could be one of the more powerful things that anyone would offer.
that's very interesting. One of the things I'm not seeing on this list is wellness programs. You know,
You think it's because they've been out there for a little bit, like they wouldn't be new per se, or
maybe, but certainly, certainly, I think businesses are putting lots of effort into wellness programs for their employees. Now, I will tell you, my daughter works for a major corporation. Headquarters are in another state, about 2,000 miles, about 1,000 or 2,000, about 1,000 miles away, and they have remote offices here. But I have not heard from her that her company is making any great efforts to do these types of programs to encourage people to come back to the office. They want people to come back to the office, and they are going back to the office. I just have not heard this type of benefits. Now, I have to ask her point blank, but she hasn't said anything to me.
well, I also wonder if part of it's a function of the labor market because right now that pendulum swung back towards the employer side. like versus like 18 months, 2 years ago, where it was definitely in the on the employee side as far as who had a little bit more leverage. That has changed. I wonder if that might be a situation where the employers don't feel like they need to offer that the way they used to. I'm sure there's exceptions in certain career fields where that might be, not be the case. But as a general trend, that's something that's changed over the past year and a half or so.
Well, we shall see. 2024 is half over, right? We're in June. Shall see. Well, let's go to the next one.
So this is a reoccurring topic for us is AI. This is something we bring up every now and then with our guests when we have people on for that, and amongst ourselves is how is AI and generative AI specifically, it seems, going to impact the workforce? Is it another repeat of the whole horse to car evolution? Or is it going to be like a massacre, specifically at the white collar level in the near future? And they seem to think there's going to be more opportunities, not less, according to the author of the article.
Well, my experience has been that technology, whether it's AI, whatever, technology always raises the bar, so that people at the least level of capability are always pushed out of the market unless they self-educate or find a way to elevate themselves. So,
Right.
so AI has been around a long time in different disguises. It's not, of course, with ChatGPT and Perplexity and all the stuff, and Apple now, and obviously we've gotten to another level with AI. And the question really is, will that diminish or increase opportunity for people in the workplace? I think it will do both. I think it will diminish people who can't keep up technologically, don't want to or can't.
Right.
It will provide opportunities for those who want to basically jump on board, and who will either educate themselves, find a way to elevate themselves. So I think it will do both. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I did. Well, I get on my little AI soapbox in that, we don't, it's still very, very, in its infancy. It's still really, programs being called AI for probably investment purposes or buzz purposes. Nothing, you can't ask an AI what its favorite color and it's giving you an answer. It doesn't have that level of intelligence or anything like that at the time. With that being said, I think one of the things that, it's going to be an exercise of overextension, whereas I think it's going to probably be overly applied to things that it doesn't do well in like the effort to, whether it's, reducing headcount, or, building new capabilities. And there's going to be, there are going to be growing pains. It does some things well, it doesn't do other things well. How much human interaction and intervention is still going to be required? I think it's going to be more than what a lot of companies are hoping. Myself, I think it will, bring out different types of opportunities. How that transition happens, I think about when the administrative assistants and the secretaries went away. It used to be like a lot of executives and mid-level managers had an assistant or shared one or something like that, and then it became incumbent on those managers and executives that they had to do their emails, calendars, and type their letters and stuff like that. And some people, had a lot of problem making that transition. And there wasn't necessarily a lot of help in making that transition either. It was kind of like, here, you go learn how to use Microsoft Word. And, is it going to be that type of transition, or is it going to be so seamless where you're just telling AI what to do or typing the prompt? That's what it's all coming down to. And we see you're talking about that with Perplexity. It's like, how do you structure that prompt to get what you want out of it?
But the trend, but here's the funny thing about that trend. All right. So the administrative assistant and the secretary was replaced by software, basically that automated certain things. We're not talking about AI. We're just talking about general workflow type of
Mhm.
stuff. All right. Well, today the trend is virtual assistant. That virtual assistant is with people.
Right.
Now, that virtual assistant can handle, will basically be using AI. But again, it's so AI will be used. It will increase an opportunity, but will increase an opportunity for people who will become virtual assistants, right? Who will use AI to basically do a more efficient job for not only one client, but for multiple clients. So it's very interesting that here we have AI software, which is going to really just, in a sense, diminish opportunities, but will actually at the same time increase.
Right.
Virtual assistant, perfect example. All right, let's go to the next one.
So next one, 4-day work weeks. Will they become routine and not be so radical?
You know, I keep thinking of I wanted to do a 4-day work week, and I used to know, as everybody knows, I'm a business consultant, and I know my clients love to meet Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, which gives me the opportunity for Mondays and Fridays to choose which of those I want to take off, and then I wind up with a 4-day work week. I haven't been able to do that, and and when I have been able to do 4-day weeks, I've crammed so much of my 5-day into 4 days. I'm actually I find that I'd rather have the 5 days than the four. But yeah, I mean, it's a great opportunity for those who can take it and work 4 days instead of five. 3-day weekends are always great to either relax or to have another job. So I think the trend is there, and I think it will continue to happen. What do you think?
I think it's going to depend on what happens because I've worked for one organization and where we had the option of doing a 4-day work week. And
Uh-oh, a dog coming on the show,
she's
Chad.
trying to participate. Anyway, we had the option of doing a 4-day work week, but we had to do 4 10-hour days. So we can either do 4 10-hour days or 5 8-hour days, but you could take that Friday off. And I think it depends on the organization, how the work is structured. And I think for an employee of a larger organization, it's probably more practical. I know for myself, as an entrepreneur and a business owner, I think of opportunity. I'm hoping people take a 4-day work week because that's one less day that they're a competition to me, to be quite honest.
Interesting.
Um, so how that will play out, and I think the other thing too is if people are like, oh yeah, we'll do a 4-day work week, 4 8-hour days, and then the compensation's not going to be the same. And I don't know that people will be so gung ho if that was to be the situation. Though you see some things in the media where people want the 4 8-hour days for the same pay as a 5-day week, and the math on that just doesn't work.
Yeah,
But
that should be interesting. I hadn't thought of that, but yes, I think people's expectations were I'll work 4 days and make the same amount of money as if I worked 5 days, as long as I get my work done. Now, the reality is that a lot of people, particularly in digital creative agencies and professional service businesses, um, the goal is to produce the result. So if you produce the result in 4 days, why shouldn't you get paid as much as if you did it in 5 days? Really? I mean, you gave the result. The result's the same, and it's even better. It's in a shorter period of time, and you judged on your results, not necessarily in certain positions, in certain fields. You're more judged on the results that you deliver than
mhm.
the hours that you work. So I think it's an interesting challenge. We should hear more about it, but for now, I think that I think people in the 4-day who will do 4 days will simply say they produce the results. They should be paid what they're valued at. We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on the organization and how they're structured for. There's some places that you've got to be independent in those exact hours. There's other places that are more productivity minded. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out for sure. Because I know, like in the consulting coaching world, hourly billing's been falling out of favor, for some time, but it's still the bedrock of probably the majority of consultants and consulting companies.
Interesting. Well, we've got nine. I don't think we're going to get to nine. And I'm not sure how long people want to hear us chat. Of course, talk business with Chad and Mike. So let's do one more, and then let's sort of close it out and give people back some time. And let's plan to do another one of these next week, or I think next week. But today's the 19th. We have another episode with Karen Ross coming up on the 28th. Am I correct?
Yes, that's true. A week Friday.
Right. So if we can squeeze another one in of this before that would be great. If not, we'll do another one after Karen.
All right. So let's see here. I'm going to go down over to this window. Here we go. All right. So looking for what's that?
Back to number 4.
I was going to see if there was one more interesting than 4. Employee conflict resolution.
Okay. Let's keep going. That's your field. You're you touch this a lot, I'm sure, in terms of applications. But if you want to go to another one, I'm game.
Touch on that one. It's people can say they want that to be, in the toolbox of a manager. The biggest obstacle that this is going to be is how they're training and prepping and positioning people in management and leadership positions. Because too often it just, you're good at what you do technically, and pal, we're going to make you a team lead or a department head, but we're not going to provide you with the skills and the strategies to handle, whether it's communication, different types of strategies, leadership. And it could be one of those things where we say we want them to do this, do this additional skill, but are they going to be outfitted to do it? I think that's going to be the one thing that's going to really come up. And also, what are going to be the boundaries of what really interaction should be at work? There's been, this is in my opinion, and what I tell clients, there's been too much of a blurring between professional and out of office issues. The expectations, when they're set properly in an organization, as far as what's the objective when you're in the office or on work, your hours Zooming or whatever it is, what should the focus be? And, what's in bounds, what's out of bounds. If there's a clear expectation that way, it's going to make, the job a little easier, for managers. But the organizations, they need to have better clarity, because too many, if there's an issue, they just kick it. Let HR handle it. Instead of it being handled organically, within a team or a department.
So, the way I see this is really interesting. I think the workplace is going to be continuing blurred. With as much remote work as we have. Yeah, it used to be the man. Remember have you ever heard the term "the man in the gray flannel suit"?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when I think of that, I think of there was the office and there was the home. And it was very clear what was discussed in business was not discussed at home. There was a real wall and there was no blurring. But the trend over the last several years, even before the pandemic, was transparency.
Right. Which was an awful piece of advice.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all. But transparency became the thing. Now, you take that trend of transparency, you take the pandemic, where we now work remote and we work out of our homes, and you have even more blurring, right? So there's, as you said, you talked about the workplace being professional versus out of office versus stuff out of office.
Right.
But that's blurred as a result of this trend of transparency, which was there prior to the pandemic, and then the pandemic with all this remote work becoming part of the office.
Yeah, and I think that gets back to the expectation part, though, Mike, because leadership and organizations need to really be clear in what they said as the expectations. Because I mean, there have been, I mean, Google, they terminated a number of employees that tried to protest in the CEO's office, over a political topic. And the trend has actually, from what I've seen and heard through various grapevines, it is swinging back the other way.
Yes,
Um,
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I do agree with you. I think there should be a boundary, a good boundary, a strong boundary between professional and out of office. I believe that, and I
yeah.
would agree. I
But
just
it's hard
think
to do because they've opened the gate and they've let all
yes,
these other things happen, and now they're kind of like trying to put the horses back in the barn.
that's correct, and that's why I believe, and I'm sure you do too, that I think managers should be trained and need a significant amount of training. And I'm not sure that corporations realize that as uh, I don't think they realize that as much as let me see if I can say this better. Um, I think that major organizations are falling short in terms of training their managers more appropriately to deal with this blurring. And particularly young people, particularly people who entered the workforce during the pandemic when there was no office and it was all remote. And now we expect them to come back to the office, and we expect them to know enough to make that separation between professionalism and out of the office. And that's not going to happen on their own. That's why training is so much more important. And I'm hopefully that one of the trends throughout, let's say 2024, 25 will be to train managers more effectively in this issue.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Mike, because it's not gonna fix itself. And it's like the kind of the proverbial analogy of you get the speedboat versus the aircraft carrier, and how much momentum does that behavior have? And right now, it's not insignificant. Whether it's being learned in colleges or in the workplaces and stuff like that. But
You
so we knocked 4 out of 9 out. We got those.
yeah.
And so next Friday, we've got Karen Ross, coach and a hypnotherapist on. It's going to be an interesting conversation. She also does a lot of work with people in athletics, as far as dealing with different performance aspects. So that'll be, an interesting tangent to the work that she does. And like you're saying, we're going to do more of these type of discussions as well. So hope you liked it. Give us some feedback on LinkedIn or YouTube where this is streaming out live. If you're not following us on LinkedIn, please do. And also on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. It's Talking Business with Mike and Chad. You can find that by searching for that name. And also, I'm sure that we'll put it in links in our post on LinkedIn itself.
One little correction, Chad. It's
Oh.
Talking Business, Chad and Mike.
Chad and Mike. Sorry, I was trying to be differential. But yes.
Okay. I defer to you. So this was fun. I know. Actually, we haven't had this online conversation in a while, but so this has been fun. We have lots of offline conversations. So bringing it out to our audience, I've really had a good time doing this. So let's see what happens.
All right. Well, everybody, stay cool. Have a good rest of the week, and we will see you online next time.
Bye-bye, everybody.